Shortly after the Southwest flight took off from Burbank Airport yesterday afternoon, terrifying passengers, including Fox News digital reporter Tracy Wright and her good friend Caitlin Birdie.
10 minutes because we had just started talking about, like, what are we going to do this weekend? It turned into a real nightmare real quick. We plummeted and there was no warning at all. And it was just a free fall for what felt like 5 to 10 seconds.
2 flight attendants were treated for injuries after the plane quickly plummeted. The FAA released a statement on this incident saying, quote, Southwest Airlines Flight 1496 responded to an onboard alert that another aircraft was in the vicinity while in Los Angeles Air Route Traffic Control Center airspace. Birdie's mother was on the plane too. They huddled together when it quickly descended as other passengers cried out, fearing for their lives.
There was a baby on board, and the baby was screaming. People going, "Oh my God!" A lot of no's, and then a woman screaming, "I want to get off! I want to get off!" So everyone experienced some trauma within the.
All right, so as a jet pilot, this is actually a very scary thing for passengers, but it's actually extremely safe that the resolution advisory system worked, because this aircraft was actually a military aircraft but privately owned. Now this creates some interesting pluses and minuses. Very frequently military aircraft fly with their transponders off. If your transponders are off, it means pilots can't get any kind of resolution advisory to climb or to descend. This is really important because when you're flying as a pilot, you are always aware of traffic around you, but in the worst case scenario, traffic gets close to you. The TCAS system will work in your plane in conjunction with other planes to provide what are called RAs, or resolution advisories. These start with just simple notifications that flash yellow flashing lights that say traffic, and you'll look and see, okay, where's the traffic? Do I have eyes on the traffic? What's going on? These can then advance to basically a resolution advisory, which is where you start getting notifications displaying like, hey, you need to be prepared to take evasive action. And after you're prepared to take evasive action, the computer will actually automatically tell you to descend or to climb. Now this is by design. It tells each aircraft what to do. Now there's a very important difference here about this privately used or flown military aircraft and an actual military aircraft, because this may not have turned out as well had this actually been a military aircraft. Let's listen though for a moment what these alerts sound like so you could see what a traffic advisory or resolution advisory sounds like.
Traffic, 12 o'clock, 5 miles, hour level.
Climb, climb.
Flight directors off.
Increase, climb. Increase, climb.
Those are resolution advisories.
Spartan 9 Alpha Charlie, TCAS RO.
Traffic is 2.5 miles.
Here you could see traffic, as they're saying, 2.5 miles out, 800 feet below now. So traffic coming straight at you, and the resolution advisory is climb, increase, climb. So they're at 12,700 feet in this case.
Miles, 12 o'clock, 700 below.
Clear of conflict.
Clear of conflict is a way of saying, hey, you're good, you're over 1,000 feet away. It doesn't look like your trajectories are going to converge at any point. This is a good thing, right? Here's another, that was a simulator. Here's a sort of real life example of what it might look like. Although I'm not sure if this is real life or this is also a simulator, but it's a little bit more clear with the instrumentation up close.
Looking out to see if we can see the traffic. We can't see anything yet. There it is. I've just seen lights.
Traffic here.
Traffic.
There's the yellow. Same altitude.
And get ready if we need to do any corrective action.
Yeah, see these bars right here? I have had these bars come up myself as a jet pilot. Now those will actually come up before it commands you to climb or to descend, because it's giving you a heads up like, I'm about to move you, get ready. And so I've actually had this with a Delta flight myself before. I've never gotten an advisory, but we were close enough to where we had the red bars. And this is with air traffic control separating us. We're all on, you're on a mandatory flight plan when you're above 18,000 feet. You're in Class A airspace. Everything is air traffic control.
The autopilot is disengaged and Jason descending, keeping outside.
Climb now.
And that's a reversal.
Climb now.
Climb now. It's a reversal, so we're going to climb. There's the traffic.
So you notice in this example, the aircraft actually descended about 500 feet rapidly. You're disconnecting the autopilot. You're throwing the plane over. This feels extremely uncomfortable for passengers, but it's the safe thing to do. And even though people have, videos of, hey, like, that was really scary, oh my gosh, I thought we were going down or whatever. The more I fly, the more I realize that evasive actions from pilots are by design safe. Like, not doing the evasive action is a scary thing. So here, I always like showing this video because this is just an example where I'm purposefully stalling the aircraft. You can see I've got a jet here at 6,500 feet at 101 knots. You can see my speedometer right here is showing 101 knots flashing in red. That's because we're about to stall. And so you'll see me break the stall by, watch the horizon bar here, break the water. We're doing these stalls off the beach, off of Santa Barbara here.
Stall, stall. Stall, stall.
There it is.
Stall, stall.
That's our hydraulic pusher that's actually pushing us over to prevent a complete stall. And it just simulates the stall recovery. But the hydraulic pusher will actually push you forward to force your nose over so you can capture that airspeed again. But again, these evasive actions, critical when it comes to flying. But so it turns out that this Hawker was actually privately registered. Now, why does it matter that this was privately registered? Well, because it means that it did have the opportunity to provide transponder data, TCAS, ADS-B out, whatever. ADS-B out uses, transponder system. So the point of this is if this aircraft did not have a transponder on, you actually would not have seen the other aircraft on your flight radar, which is right here. So this is the flight radar website. Here you could see that separation where at one point they got within 350 feet of each other, which is extremely dangerous. Like, this should not have happened. And it looks very much like this aircraft was on a pretty straight shot here. So we'll have to look in just a moment at the altitudes of where they are, but it looks like Southwest is climbing out of Burbank. So it's possible they haven't gotten into Class A yet. And it's entirely possible that this aircraft is on a VFR flight plan, or basically just VFR. So not on a flight plan, visual flight rules. As long as they were under 18,000 feet, they could have just theoretically been doing their own thing. And it's possible that this aircraft was never actually in communication with air traffic control, because you don't need flight following in a non-class alpha. Yeah, see, look at this. The Southwest flight is at 14,000 feet. So it's entirely possible that this aircraft was not on the same frequency as the Southwest plane, they're on an IFR flight plan. They may not be. They might not even have flight following. So there's no potential communication between the two aircraft, which isn't great. But obviously, this is where the Southwest descend, which we get. Looks like, yeah, right here. We're at 14.5. And then here we descend about 500. That resolution advisory, oh, I'm sorry, hold on a sec. They clicked to the other one. The other plane is at 14.5. So the Southwest plane is actually climbing directly into the Hawker. So air traffic control should have been guiding Southwest further to the right. Oh, here's Magic Mountain. Especially because this guy may not have been on comms. But because this guy had his ADS-B on, the resolution advisory worked as intended. So this sort of like media spectacle around, oh my gosh, near miss, was actually just a way of saying, hey, our technology was working as intended. Our avoidance technology, our traffic avoidance technology, collision avoidance systems are working as they're supposed to. Because again, you're on not the same radio communications. ATC is apparently, I don't want to ever point blame, but like somebody's sleeping here. Somebody's not paying attention to these converging paths. And unfortunately, you had a resolution advisory, which isn't great because it scares passengers and nobody wants to have that feeling. Again, nothing like structurally bad is expected to happen to an aircraft in this case. These aircraft are designed to be able to maneuver for exactly these purposes. So even though it feels really funky, it's actually incredibly safe. And if I heard at that moment, like if I were a passenger and I heard the pilot say, hey, we got a TCAS, resolution advisory, no problem. Nothing wrong. The rest of your flight can be totally fine. No issue here at all. So now the bigger problem is, what if this aircraft was actually a military aircraft and it had its transponder off? Well, if its transponder were off, it would not show up at all. It would essentially be invisible to the Southwest aircraft, and the Southwest aircraft would not have gotten a resolution advisory. So that whoop, whoop, descend, that would not happen because the system would not see the military aircraft. And this is what frustrates me, and we actually talked about this a few days ago, is that military aircraft generally in America fly with their transponders off. I personally think that should not be allowed. I personally think we should mandate military aircraft within the United States, certainly under 45,000 feet, to fly with their transponders on because it's dangerous, especially when air traffic control can't even see you. That's scary. And our TCAS systems are basically overridden. This is, in my opinion, what led to the disaster of the Potomac going into DC, where we had the crash between the helicopter and the commercial airliner. Absolutely horrible. These things could be avoided if transponders are actually on. And we know in that Potomac crash that the transponder was not on, which contributed to the confusion that ended up leading to that crash or that accident. Another video where I covered this was actually this just about a week ago. B-52 bomber near miss is a disgrace, right? And it's a disgrace, and you should watch the video, but it's a disgrace because our FAA should require military aircraft to fly with transponders on. And the reason why is exactly this. When somebody makes an oopsies, I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but when somebody makes an oopsies and misses these trajectories, and we get this close at a similar altitude of a climbing claim and VFR traffic, and nobody's paying attention, nobody's communicating to this aircraft because they're not on the same frequency, then at least we can rely on technology to back us up. But the military is allowed to fly with this technology off, which means now you are only relying on humans, which is stupid. And it's just a matter of time before more people lose their lives and more people end up dying because of some stupid idea that, oh, well, the military gets to fly with transponders off because they would do so in enemy territory. Well, no duh. But when we're at home, turn your transponder on.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.